Hey, it's Christine at One Pour More here. Today I'm going to talk about mixing acrylic pouring paint. You can purchase ready to pour acrylic paint at the craft store, but it is pretty pricey. A bottle that is, let's see how many this is, 16.9 full ounces. The artist Loft here in Tucson, Arizona is about $15 per bottle. This paint is very different from homemade, I'm gonna call it homemade, handcrafted pour paint because it has a bit more of a plastic quality, meaning it can peel off of projects sometimes, but it definitely doesn't need to be sealed like the paint that I mix does. It dries more glossy than matte, whereas the paint that I'm going to show you how to mix dries matte, and so I seal it with an enamel to bring the shine back. So when it comes to mixing pour paint, there's a couple things you can keep in mind. One is the amount of paint that you're mixing. If you're making something small like an 8x10 canvas, that only requires 5 ounces of paint in total. So you might choose to mix your paint with 3 or 5 ounce cups and craft sticks. I am mixing a much larger container of paint. So this is what I use for my pouring paints. So I use this graduated cylinder so that I can pay attention to the amounts that I'm putting in. So every artist I've seen on YouTube uses a different formula. Some share, like Marcy Farrow, Mixed Media Girl. She's always happy to share what she does in her art. And she uses a 50-30-20 mixture. Other artists use a mixture of just paint and water, but many use some kind of paint conditioner. And the paint conditioner that I use is Floetrol. So Floetrol is a paint conditioner that can be picked up at a hardware store, any hardware store. When a professional painter is spraying your house, they use the Floetrol in their paint sprayer to keep it from clogging. So my understanding of the science is that the paint conditioner allows the paint to keep its pigment while changing the viscosity, whereas if you just use water with your paint, it might be dulled in color some. But I know one of the artists I've seen, I think she uses a very high quality acrylic paint like golden, and she just uses water. So again, try different things and see what works for you. If you're on a budget, you can also use Elmer's glue wall instead of something like Floetrol. So I am going to use Marcy Farrow, Mixed Media Girls formula today. So I'm making a big batch because I'm completely out of white. Alright, so if I look at the side, I am right about a little over 300 on my graduated cylinder, so I'm going to shoot for 600 total. So now with Floetrol, this is going to be slightly different because you can't tell the difference because it's just as white. So, but I do like to mix my Floetrol in really well before I add my water. So I'm going to use my drill and this attachment to mix my paint. I could just use a stir stick. It's just a little bit easier on my hands to do it this way. So then when I take my drill out, what I'm going to notice is the indentations from the droplets off of the drill bit into the paint stay. So that tells me I'm not thin enough yet and it's time to add the water. And I add my water a little at a time, so I'm not going to shoot right for my last number, my 600, to make sure I don't thin it out too much and have to add more paint. You want to make sure that your water gets completely incorporated. So what I'm looking for is for my paint to be fluid. So as droplets enter the paint, I want them to disappear into the paint. Another good way to test that is to take a craft stick, dip it in, and you want it to build up on the craft stick. So you want to see that kind of bubble of paint, but you also want it to drip off in a fluid stream. So this is a good pouring paint right here. So that's my paint all mixed. So have fun trying different formulas. Look at different YouTube videos for other fluid artists like Gina DeLuca, Rince Gaduna, Marcy Farrow, Mixed Media Girl, and try out their formulas as well and see which you like better, and get to pouring.